Hey, what's up, friends? It's Kenyon, and welcome to Evolution Ave, home of real estate evolved in the limitless mindset. Now, this is a special episode because I have a special guest. I have my man Eric Adili. Eric owns Fat Tomato, one of the hottest restaurants in South Jersey, with a great family atmosphere, amazing culture, and amazing food. Trust me, I wouldn't steer you wrong. The topic of this episode is tough times don't last, but tough people do. How to navigate a small business through the pandemic and beyond. So, if you love the content, please like, subscribe, and share. But without further ado, let's get to the episode. I thought you wanted and I let go. I don't even want you in my life. I know I like you better than you would. I've been drowning in a lemonade. You'll never get the best of me. I've been drowning in a lemonade. What's up, friends? It's Kenyon, and welcome to the podcast. This is the Evolution Ave podcast, home of real estate evolved in the limitless mindset. Now, listen, I have a great show in store. I have a very, very special guest. It's going to be an impactful show, a powerful show. Of course, we're always looking to bring you as much value as possible. So, without further ado, please, everybody, welcome Eric Adili to the show. My guy.
Thank you, man.
What's going on, man?
Nice to be here.
Great for you to be here, man. So, crazy story. When I first moved to the area, my wife was like, we have to go to Fat Tomato because she went to high school out here.
Okay.
And she was like, we got to go to Fat Tomato. Their food is amazing. So I think I walked into Fat Tomato, ran into you and I think every time I walk in, we at least have a 20 to 30 minute conversation about
I feel bad every time because your food is cold by the time you get home.
So, I walk in and then every time we link up, it's just like, dude, this is my guy, right?
Yeah.
Then we go to the same gym. We both go to Lifetime.
Yep.
We run into you there. Then you started Gourmet Gains, which I definitely want you to talk more about.
Yep.
Because I don't even know how. I think you posted on Instagram. I'm like, bro, I'm literally looking for a meal prep plan right now.
I'll tell you what's funny about. We'll get back into it. But it literally started as a joke,
right.
And then it morphed into a business.
Okay.
Which is kind of funny, but like I'll talk about that later in the episode for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm gonna let Eric tell his story, let him tell you about him and what he does, what he believes in, and just really share his story with you guys, because I think that it's always important, especially in the entrepreneurship world, the small business world, big business world, whatever world you're in, to understand how people started, how they got where they are, and then what they're looking at towards the future. So Eric is clearly one of my favorite entrepreneurs for selfish reasons, because I love eating at Fat Tomato and Gourmet Gains. But Eric, without further ado, man, tell us a little about yourself. Tell us, what do you do? Name something you're super thankful for after that.
My name is Eric, obviously, but I'm 35. I operate and own a restaurant called the Fat Tomato, and it's in West Berlin, New Jersey. And then part of that, I have a ghost kitchen that runs out of the same restaurant called Gourmet Gains, as you talked about. It's a gluten-free meal prep company. And I would say it's a little off the beaten path. It's not going to be entrepreneurial, but like the thing that I'm grateful for, and I was thinking about this like on a deeper level, like not just like, material things, but I'm really grateful for music.
What about music? What about music makes you grateful? Because I love music too.
Yeah.
I love it. I've just gotten into, believe it or not, because I'm reading this book called Limitless, right? Mm-hmm. By Jim Quick. Really great book about like our brain being these supercomputers and how we don't use them enough.
Yeah.
And he said one of the things that you should do is listen to Baroque music. Something about Baroque music triggers you. But normally that's not my music. I listen to a lot of different genres.
Yes.
I'm a big music guy. Mm-hmm. So I think music is like the ultimate mood shifter.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, so for me, I've been playing the piano since I was like 6 years old.
Okay, didn't know that.
So, and I was trained like classically. So classical music has always been a big part of my life. I listen to it all the time. So when that guy's talking about listening to Baroque music, I know exactly what he's talking about.
He's saying it like something about Baroque stimulates your brain, stimulates your thinking, puts you in a very stress-free, calm-free mood.
There's something to be, well, I hate saying it because like I'll look at like artists these days, right? And I'll pick and choose who's a real artist and who's not. You know what I mean? Like when you have like the pop music and the stuff you hear on the radio, yeah, okay. Right. Some, it's still music, yes. But there's something to be said about like real classical instrumental music, that he's right. It does hit you on a different level. It gets your brain thinking. I mean, there's a reason why they tell mothers that are pregnant to listen to classical music
Right.
to calm their children, like in the womb.
Gotcha.
There's something to be said about like people who have like more brain activity when they're listening to classical music. So he's probably on the money with that, where
Okay.
it does like lead to you having more development, or like, you know, a thinking pattern that changes
Okay.
through listening to that. So yeah, like for selfish reasons, I love playing the piano, and I love anything that has to do with the piano whatsoever.
So you still play?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I play almost every day. Yeah.
Wow. What does it do for you?
For me, so running businesses is hard. Everybody knows that.
That's what we're here
It's
to-
not
that's what
easy.
we're here.
We're not all just like fat cats that just like put our legs up on the table and
Right.
smoke cigars all day. That's
True,
not
true.
that's not the real world.
Right.
You know, that's cartoons. So for me, like having that outlet, I guess, is where it really benefits me, because when you're an entrepreneur, or if you're running a business or whatnot, a lot of things are dealt with on your own. And
Absolutely.
even managing, let's say, your emotions for things and stuff like that. So having that, like for me, that emotional outlet, that thing that I can like basically just like let loose and let flow through music, that's just like the best thing for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. So that's a perfect segue into my next question. So outside of business, what are your passions?
So obviously the piano,
Piano.
like making any kind of music. Like over the course of COVID, I got into like buying a recording software for
Okay.
my computer so that I could actually like plug in a piano and start recording my music. Because like I never had really done that in the past. Like most of my piano playing days, like it was just me playing
Right.
for me. You know, I took lessons since I was like 12 years old, and only for like 2 years, because I kept getting better than all of my teachers.
Right.
I like no BS. I tell people this all the time. I'm like, you know, I might seem like a cocky person sometimes, but there's one thing that I know that I'm good at, and it is playing the piano.
Now, did your parents push you into that, or was that your interest?
No. So my grandfather, or my great grandfather, I should say, played in the Benny Goodman Orchestra.
Okay.
So this was like a big band era type stuff. Him and his brother were both part of that band, and like so they're real musicians. In fact, they're pretty like famous when it comes to like local musicians in Philadelphia.
Okay.
They opened up Pat's and Gino's Steaks by playing like outside of their places, like when they first opened. Like so, like music like that goes back in my family a long ways. So when I was younger, like I was like 6 years old, maybe 5, 6 years old. My dad would take us to like go see Disney movies and stuff like
Right.
that, right? I would come home from the movie and be able to play the theme song on the piano by just hearing it, and that's how I play to this day. If I hear something, I can play it.
Dude, are you sure you're supposed to be running a restaurant?
Well, it's
I mean, who are we
it's
sitting,
funny.
Who are we sitting down with right here?
It's funny. I've run into like guys who are like music producers and stuff
Right.
like that, because I used to go to Guitar Center when I was younger.
Okay.
And just to mess around
to
on
hang out,
the
right?
pianos that I couldn't afford yet. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, these are awesome. Like I love the sounds that these make, whatever. And I ran into like some producers. One producer I ran into, he worked with Pharrell, and he gave me his number, and I gave him mine, and he said, I'm going to call you. I'm doing stuff up in New York City. I want you to come and just like, just play
Hang out,
around,
kick it,
whatever.
right?
And I missed his phone call, and I never got in touch with him again, which was kind of like a little letdown in my life. But, it is what it is.
It is what it is. It'll all come back around one way or the other.
It is, yeah.
Right? Wow, that's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
So this is like perfect segues. So next question. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
When I was younger, even in like high school and stuff like that, I wanted to be a journalist. I liked sports. I wanted to like be like a sports writer type thing. I remember when I freshly graduated high school, I had started going to college like very minimally, but for me, like when it comes to schooling, I should say, I'm very like, do I really need this or do
Right.
I not? And
Well-
especially with something like the written word, like, can you write or can you not? And a lot of things like that kids go to school for these days. I'm like, do you really need a degree for that or do you not? Like, you either can do it or you can't. You know what I mean? And yeah, some amount of training will get you a little further, perhaps. But like when it comes to like the arts, anything that has to do artistically, it's like you're either artistic or you're not. You know, I didn't feel the reason to like keep going that way. But I like canvassed all these local newspapers to try and get a job, and I never could. So like it was like one of those things where I kind of ran into the whole, you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know type thing. And I didn't know anybody in that field, like, because all my family was in like restaurants.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it, you know, so.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the miseducational system misguides a lot of us, unfortunately. But that's a whole nother episode and conversation.
That is.
Maybe you and I can talk about that. We'll have an episode about the miseducational system, because our educational system here is definitely broken. Because, you know, just to tap on a little bit, I agree with you. Unless you're going to be a doctor, an attorney, look, there's certain things that you do need school for. But a lot of times, I think that we miss out on our blessing, our dream, our real passion. Is because we're taught to go to school, go to college, get in debt, get a job to pay off that debt for 30 years, and we're kind of backwards, right?
I'm faced with it all the time, because like there is like a segment of my staff that is always revolving, that are younger kids,
right?
You know, so you know, and as time has gone on, I've slowly became the younger kid to now, like, you know, a middle-aged man, where like these kids are still the same age coming in, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, you're in how much debt? Like who of us would want to go into that much debt at such a young age and not even know what we really want to do with our lives? I've seen so many kids that get the piece of paper and then end up never doing that career.
My major was political science, and nowadays I'm a real estate professional and tech entrepreneur. I have nothing to do with it. Shout out to your staff, by the way. That was one of the other things when I first came to Fat Tomato. I came home and I said, "Wow, everybody there is super nice. Like you could just tell it's a family establishment. Good people. Just that even." Did I ever tell you about the one time? This is a funny story. It was snowing out, right?
Okay.
It was starting to snow, or maybe it was raining.
Right.
And I came in. It was at night. It was a Friday night, typical pizza night. And I guess whoever came in before me, they must have pulled the foot carpet.
Okay.
And I came in and I slipped. Did I tell you about that?
No.
Did you ever hear about that?
No.
So you guys were packed on a typical Friday night. You're packed. I walk in, and I'm like, oh, I can't. There's no thing to wipe my feet. What happened was, like, whoever came in, they must have wiped their feet and they pushed it forward. No. So I came and I had these duck boots on. And I just was like, whoom. I think your sister might have been there that night, and she was like, "Are you?" And I popped right up, like that those reflexes where you're like whoop whoop, like almost like I was breakdancing. Like I popped right up, and you're just like, "Ken, are you all right?" I'm like, "I'm great, but the whole restaurant was literally looking at me. And I'm literally like, where's my pizza? Let me get out of here. But even I think she even texted me the next day, or she sent me a DM the next day like, Ken, you're all right? I'm like, trust me, I'm good. It was an easy slip. Yeah. And it was one of the slow motion slips too. It was one of the ones, it wasn't like I slipped and like, pow. It was like I slipped, and you know how you're slipping, you're trying to catch yourself? So it was like slow motion, like, oh, I'm slipping. Yeah. And it's almost like I kind of leaned onto the ground.
I believe it. Yeah.
But everybody was like super cool. You could tell, even like some of the customers, I think the like, older lady that was sitting down, she's like, sweetheart, you're okay, right? I'm like, I'm good. Thank you so much. But yeah.
Well, I appreciate
funny story.
I appreciate that though. Like I like that when I hear like the staff is like
awesome
happy
staff.
And like, they treat everybody with kindness, like, cause we get a lot of compliments like that a lot.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that like it starts from the top down. Like my mom and dad were always that way, with the staff. So it's like, if you treat your people good, they're going to treat your customers good. And that's just the way the progression goes.
Yeah, leadership is from the top down. Culture is from the top down. I think that's what's missing in a lot of big corporate these days, a lot of organizations, period. You just don't get that. So, I mean, even the days you're not there, when I come to pick up my gourmet gains, and typically either your sister or what's her name? I know her name. I'm having a brain fart.
Well, Haley's there now, but it used to be Gianna.
Gianna was always there. But even then, I would come in there. I would probably spend 20 minutes just talking to Gianna, talking to Alex, talking to my man with the mustache.
Juan, yeah.
Juan, talking to Juan, just saying what's up to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that type of welcoming atmosphere, man. So you guys have a great thing going over there.
Thank you.
So selfishly, I'm glad. I'm not glad you didn't pursue your musical career, because it sound we have a musical genius sitting here right now.
Well,
but
yeah. I mean, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but probably. But like, at the same time, the whole thing with music for me, though, is like that's the outlet for me.
Right.
I think once it would become, let's say, a job or something like that, I don't know if the satisfaction of it would be the same. Even if you were making money doing
Right.
something like that as a passion, I think some passions are worth keeping to yourself. You know what I mean?
I think I find that with athletes too, because sometimes I look at athletes, I'm like, look at these guys complaining about, you're making 30 million, they're complaining that they're not getting 35 million. And I'm like,
Right.
you're getting paid to play a game, but I forget, right? I
Yeah.
forget because it's a job to them as well. It's a business. So
Yeah.
part of the passion from being an athlete is not there anymore because it's so business oriented.
Not everybody likes going to work every day.
Right. And when it becomes a job, it changes. Because I can remember playing, I played sports as a kid and all throughout high school, and my favorite sport was football. I remember when playing I grew up in Trenton, and we were called the Trenton Tornadoes as our high school football team. So before that, you played for the Little Tornadoes. Nothing was more fun in the world than being a Little Tornado. We were winning too, so winning is always fun.
Right.
But nothing was more fun because the pressure wasn't there, right?
Right.
And then I noticed in high school, every year it just got from freshman to junior varsity and varsity, it just got more and more intense where I know how the fun goes away because the pressure's on, right? You lose one game, you might not go to the playoffs. You don't win the state championship. You don't win a division.
Yeah, that mentality is what kept me from playing in high school.
Yeah.
Is because I'm not one of those people where it's like if you put the fire under me, like I'm gonna start performing even better.
Right.
No.
Right.
I'll be like, I'll stand in this fire all day long.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna move. That's not my reason for motivation, and
Gotcha.
that's kind of like how our coaches were back then. And so, but I was always like maybe one of the top 5 biggest kids in the class, growing up. And they would always be like, you coming out this year? You coming out this year? No, I'm not coming out this year because
Right.
you're insane.
Right.
Like, I don't feel like running in August. That's
Right.
not my thing, dog. It's just funny that that's how it was. But
Yeah. Let's get back to the entrepreneur side. So Fat Tomato, how did it get started, and was that your first venture?
So technically, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was my first business that I, took over and everything like that. My parents are the ones that started it. My father had moved he's originally from Albania.
Okay.
And then when they immigrated to, the United States back in the 60s, they had a restaurant or a bakery, I should say, in New York City in Queens. And then that slowly morphed into them selling pizza as well.
Okay.
Which became the sauce recipe for the pizza is still the same one we use today, but it wasn't my babo's, it was my Nana's.
Wow,
So we
okay.
still use Nana's recipe to this day, and I think my uncles do too, because my dad eventually moved from New York City down to South Jersey and started the first King of Pizza.
Your dad is one of the founders of King of Pizza.
Right, and
Okay.
so
Which is a South Jersey staple for the people who are not from this
right.
area. Yeah.
Long time, and his brothers still own the one in Gloucester.
Okay.
So
So are those franchises? Like there's Cherry Hill, there's Berlin.
right. There's ones that are owned by a group of families or
Right.
like a family and whatnot, and then my uncles own one of the original ones
original one.
that is
The one in Gloucester is over there,
for a
like
long
on that
time.
130 bypass.
Yep.
Okay,
mhm.
gotcha.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you're right. Some of them are owned in a franchise
Okay.
way. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But then, and then my dad, broke off. He opened up a place he bought a place in Cherry Hill called Michelangelo's. Then we owned another place called Palumbo's that was in Cinnaminson for
Okay.
years. And then finally, they moved out here to West Berlin after they had sold Palumbo's, and we opened up the Fat Tomato.
Oh, sweet,
So, yeah.
sweet. And I noticed when your mom comes to town, right? Desserts are on deck, special dessert, because you
Oh, yeah.
always post that. I know I picked that up. Like, mom's in town. Guess what's on deck?
That was if anyone's gonna have a passion, that was her passion.
Okay.
She wanted to be like a pastry chef,
Okay.
growing up.
So that's why they had the bakery.
Yeah, well, no. She was separate. It's kind of funny. Back when my dad opened up the King of Pizza, my mom had worked for him as a waitress, and she was actually engaged to somebody else, which is hilarious.
How love happens,
But
man.
the story goes is that my dad would always be like, come on, Sue, you want to go out sometime?
Right,
What's
right.
the big deal?
Oh,
you
he
know?
knew
and
what he was doing.
Little things, little peppering things here and there,
Right,
you
right.
know. And then, eventually she was just like, I feel more feelings for him than I do the guy that I'm with.
Hey,
and
man,
I was like,
can't stop
whatever.
love, man. That's how it works. That's
So,
how it works.
That's how it happened.
Yeah, awesome, man. Look, once again, I just can't give enough kudos, man. You guys have a great family-run business, and it's just a pleasure to be there. So
Thank you.
if you're in the area, if you're in the South Jersey area, you have to go to Fat Tomato. We'll have an ad running during the podcast too, but trust me on this one. You know I won't steer you wrong. So let's get into this, man. Tell me about when the pandemic hit, man. What was your reaction? What was the sentiment? Because I know that was a tough time for all business owners. And
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends in the restaurant industry, so I kind of felt a lot of their pain. Gained a lot of weight during the pandemic because I was trying to support all my friends' restaurant businesses.
Everyone
too.
did.
But yeah, tell me how that felt, and give me some insight on that.
It was well. First of all, it started off. Remember, we thought it was going to be 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't think anything of it in the beginning. I was just like, oh, well, all right, 2 weeks is not that big of a deal. Like,
Right.
we still have like food that is going to be able to be delivered or whatnot.
Right.
So it is what it is. So for us, I didn't think it was going to be as big as what it ended up being.
Okay.
But even in the beginning, let's say the first 6 months of it, again, we have the kind of food where it delivers well, and people get it anyway, delivery. So that really didn't change that much. It wasn't until like where things changed where you could have outdoor dining,
Right.
and we didn't have that. So now you have this like uneven playing field now of where certain people have a leg up to other restaurants. And so that was the differentiating factor right there, where we had to come up with like an idea of like, how do we keep people that want to like go out and sit down somewhere now from not doing that and still ordering from us or
Right.
whatnot, and keeping all the staff and everything like that. Like we had to change the way we were paying everybody, because like you're making less, like, and some money is better than no money.
Absolutely, yeah, true.
So we had to switch hours up. The way we price things, the offers that we were giving, like even with like discounts that we were giving to people, because like everybody was falling on tough times
Right.
at that point. So it was like, how do you give back to the community and keep going, but also still try and remain as profitable as possible? Luckily, like I'm not foolish with the money or anything like that.
Right.
Like I saved a lot just in case of a rainy day. So, and it was thankful that I did that, because we did have to like tap into some of our own money to keep it afloat.
Keep things going. Because then the price of food, everything went up, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, things went up, and even recently, obviously now everybody's dealing with inflation, so like it's gone even more upward than usual, let's say, than in the past. But everything with this business in particular, because I can only speak to mine, is you have to just adapt. You know, like business doesn't just stop because you don't know what to do. And people look to you to know what to do all the time. And if your staff doesn't feel like you know what you're doing, it's going to be very hard for them to follow you into, I hate saying it, but like into battle almost.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to be the one that knows what they're doing. In fact, when everything happened, like my father passed away right before COVID happened. Right. So it was like one of those things where I'm dealing with something that's unprecedented. And I also have the person that knew as much as I did, if not more, about the restaurant business, and I couldn't ask them any questions about like what we should do.
Right.
So it was like a very like, fight or flight type of situation for me growing up in the business. No one had ever dealt with anything like that before.
Yeah.
So thankfully we survived it though,
Yeah, it's crazy because you actually touched on a lot of the things that I was going to ask about. What was your game plan, and you kind of touched on how you navigated through that. What I really like is, you talked about leadership. This is what I've been in sales pretty much all my life, right? Since when I was in high school, I worked at Circuit City, right? I used to run from football practice and go work at Circuit City. I was selling these cell phones when they were $1 a minute. But I was also in Princeton, New Jersey, where people could afford to come buy a cell phone and spend $1 a minute on it. And then in college, I worked at CarMax. I sold cars.
Okay.
And it wasn't because I love sales. I just love people. I do love sales, but I love people more, right? So my big thing was always you chase people, not money. Right? Because
Absolutely.
when you chase people, you eventually get to the money. You chase people to help people, and you get to it. But in the business world, entrepreneurship and sales, what I've noticed that's missing is leadership, right? Mm-hmm. Leadership isn't the way it used to be. A lot of times, and I love Simon Sinek because he talks about this a lot. Mm-hmm. Leadership these days expects a certain output from people, but they don't give the input to get that output anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like numbers, results, and I'm going to do that by basically saying, if you don't do it, it's a problem. Right. So I love the fact that, you cared about your people. You had a leadership mentality through the whole thing because you stood strong because, like you said, it's a top-down approach, right? Everything comes from the top down. So, I really like that. What's up, friends? It's Kenyon of the Wolfpack at eXp Realty. Listen, if you're an experienced agent looking to do 3 to 5 more deals per month by using modern strategies like social media and building your brand, or if you're looking to build a team, maybe you're looking to add an additional revenue stream by helping other agents be successful just because you love doing that, or you're simply trying to make more money doing the same thing you do day in and day out, we should talk. If you're a new agent ready to commit to learning how to become a rockstar agent and executing day in and day out, mastering the art of being a dual career agent and earning an additional 6 figures every year, and becoming the go-to real estate pro in your area, we should talk too. Oh, and by the way, collaborate with some of the highest earning agents around the globe, free coaching, dynamic masterminds, all with no coaching fees and no additional splits. Book a 30-minute meeting with me and let's discuss your options. The Wolfpack may or may not be for you, but at least you'll understand why over 140 plus agents join us every single month. And you'll understand why I'm one of the greatest motivators of all time. Talk soon. Friends, thanks for listening. Please reach me at realestateagent007 on Instagram. There is a link in my profile so you can set up a 30-minute call, or just feel free to reach me at kenyon@kenyonhunter.com. Y'all stay super blessed. So Eric, what's your business and the overall market you're in look like today?
I would say that today, moving forward, the market is definitely dealing with its own bouts with inflation and things like that. It's hard for any small business to operate and not know their exact costs for things. Right. Because you just want to make sure that you're like where you need to be to make a profit, but also at the same time, you don't want to feel like you're gouging your customers. Absolutely. So it's like, it's definitely like a fine line of a dance type deal right now. But moving forward, I feel like, it's either going to make or break, we're teetering on an edge where like, if the consumer cannot afford it anymore, well, then they're not going to buy it anymore. Right. And that goes with everything. So, I feel like, we're just all out here waiting for that shoe to drop type deal where you're kind of like unaware of what's going to happen in the future. I mean, we always are. Sure. But like prediction wise, it doesn't look the best, but hopefully we get through it. I mean,
how do you deal with that? Like, I'm a big mindset guy. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, what's your mindset?
For me, I kind of just like go with the flow. I'm more of like an in the moment person. Right. I'll be honest with you. Like when it comes to like planning out the future and things like that, I do the best I can for certain things, but other things, I'll just like take it as it comes, and deal with it. I'm much better at in the moment. If like a house is on fire type thing, figuring it out real quick, rather than like planning it out way in advance and having like this procedure, that procedure in case this happens or that happens. So, I'm more of like a wait and see at this point to see what happens in the future for it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us a little bit. There's a lot of people out there that want to be entrepreneurs. They want to become a small business. Mm-hmm. Just give your insight. I mean, you're a veteran in the small business world, a veteran entrepreneur now. What insight would you give somebody that's looking to become an entrepreneur, to start a small business, whether it's a restaurant or whether it's any small business, right? Because business is business. Yeah. Obviously, you have an expertise in the restaurant industry, a genius musician once again. But what advice, what insight, what would you tell that up and coming or that person considering becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a restaurateur, or just any small business for that matter?
I would say, first thing you have to do is be honest with yourself. It's not all rainbows and butterflies, right. Being a business owner of any kind. There's a lot of like, let's just say it's lonely at the top. That's like a proverb we've all heard before, but like it's true. Like no one is going to be lauding you for any successes that you have.
Right.
And every failure that you have will be in your face and promoted in your face.
Gotcha.
Like, that's just the way it goes. So you have to be able to be the kind of person who can like rise above those kind of like pressures. So I would say, you know, being introspective enough to know that you have those kind of strengths as a personality to be able to deal with that kind of pressure is the first thing you have to do. And the second thing you have to do, you have to be passionate about what you're doing, because otherwise you're not going to want to get up every day and do it.
Right.
And you literally have to show up every day. I may not work at the restaurant certain days, sure, but you best believe I am still working on the restaurant, like, or business in general. There's always something that I'm doing every single day for that business to continue.
Gotcha. You're involved. What would you say, what's the future of business, right? Is it social media? You know where I'm going with that? Like, what do you say, what's key these days with it? Like, I'm a big social media guy.
Yeah.
I use Instagram and social media avenues as a platform, especially in real estate, especially with helping agents and reaching out to agents, but just helping people in general, being a speaker and motivator. What does the future look like for your business, for small business, the overall market?
This might be a little out there for right now, but I think COVID showed us that some people are more okay with being at home, you know,
Right.
being internal and, you know, like living their lives online. You know, online shopping was huge. All these kind of things that you did, like people were people still working from home and not going to the office. So I know it's been thrown around a lot in a negative way, but like the metaverse is a thing that's coming out like eventually.
Will people come the fat tomato in the metaverse?
Well, so it's funny. I started like learning how to build, what do you call it? It's like 3D models.
Right. That's supposed to be like the new thing.
Yeah. So I was like, the first thing I was trying to build was my exact restaurant, like exact online, to make like basically a store that you would go to. You would order like you were like in a universe of some sort, and you know, a delivery would come to your house, like in real life. Yeah.
Okay.
But like in the metaverse, you would go up to the counter just like anything else, order like you were there, and then the food would arrive at your house.
So Haley will have her avatar in the metaverse. I'd come to Fat Tomato, have my small talk with Haley, leave with my gourmet gains.
Like, you never know. Like, that might actually happen.
Yeah.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's a lot of things that sounded ridiculous
Everything
before.
sounded ridiculous. Flying sounded ridiculous.
Right.
Right.
So it's like, you can't say that one thing won't happen and another thing will because it seems more feasible.
Sure.
Like, if this does happen, you best believe that the big corporations are going to have enough money to do it, right? Or pay someone to do it. And the little guys like, you know, me and you, or, you know, entrepreneurial, you're going to have to learn how to do these things on your own before you can afford to pay somebody to do that kind of work.
We're going to have to be able to shift. And also, I think we have to be at the forefront of shifts a lot, right? Because, I mean, streaming ESPN looked ridiculous at one point, right? Or you know, Friday nights used to be pick up your pizza, go to Blockbuster.
I was just going to bring that up. Blockbuster used to be huge, and they laughed Netflix out of the room.
Turned Netflix down, actually.
Right. And now, look, like, who doesn't have a Netflix?
Right. It's true. And it's one of those things where if I don't watch Netflix for 3 months, I still don't cancel my subscription, right?
Right. So, most people don't.
Right.
And that's another thing too. How do you get into those kind of revenue streams where like people are paying regardless a monthly thing for a lot of things that they might not even use most of the time?
Yeah. It's true.
You
Even as a real estate agent, when the metaverse the buzz first started coming about the metaverse and Web3, the first thing I thought was, oh, how do I become a real estate broker in the metaverse?
Yeah.
Then like literally like a week later, I saw like these two high luxury agents where they were like, such and such from so and so sold, you know, $1 million properties in the first $1 million property in the metaverse. I'm like, how do I do it, right? And I still don't really know, right? Because I know everything is based off blockchain, and it's a lot to learn. But eventually, all the things that you know are somewhat not dismissing. I think people know it's there, it's coming, but you know we'll have to adopt to it, and we'll have to figure out how to be on the forefront of that change, that shift, that innovation, right? Because the world is based off innovation.
In the grand scheme of things, the internet is not that old.
It's not. It's not.
It's really not.
I mean, honestly, I think it would be fun to get on my phone, you know, get into the metaverse, say, hey, you know, Friday night, I want Fat Tomato, you know, just get on there and virtually, literally go to Fat Tomato and in the virtual world and then pick it up.
Well, and this is where this is where it gets interesting. Yes, you might be in the metaverse. Let's say you're hanging out with your friend. You want to meet somebody from that friend of yours that lives clear across the country or across the globe, and you're going into a restaurant that you guys have gone to before and sitting down in front of each other with, like, let's say some kind of lens on that you're seeing each other and you're literally sharing a meal together virtually.
Having
in
a
way.
human experience, right?
Having that same experience.
Well, you know, they did that. The Brooklyn Nets put all these 3D cameras all around their arena. So basically, you and me, or me and my buddy Derek that lives in California, or my buddy Rob that lives in California, or one of my buddies that live in Toronto, whatever, we can all go to Madison Square Garden and catch a basketball game and be sitting together courtside
and
in the metaverse.
On top of it, for Madison Square Garden or whoever's playing or whatever, they can sell unlimited amount of tickets.
It's crazy.
So it's like,
crazy.
Yeah, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know?
Unless in the metaverse they wanted it to be like, well, these guys are like, maybe I'll meet somebody who's also sitting on the wood with us. So I guess they would have to limit that. So really, they could do infinite space, but if they wanted to be real, I guess, you know, me and my buddy Rob are sitting here at the courtside the Lakers game because he lives in LA. But at the same time, I might meet this guy next to me and he might say, bro, you're a real estate broker?
Right.
You know, you never know. But the possibilities are somewhat
We don't know
endless.
how it's going to end up shaking out, but it definitely is a potential thing that you're probably going to want to be more educated about than not.
Yeah, dude, we're definitely have to have a part 2 about the future, right? Speaking of that, you know, I'm interested, Eric. What's your overall worldviews, and you know, when it comes to the present, and you know, because the landscape of things is just crazy all around. No matter which, like, from business to social, economics. I mean, you name it. It's just crazy stuff going on. What's your just overall worldviews? Like, what does Eric think about? What does Eric feel passionate about when it comes to society, humanity, and what do you how do you view the foreseeable future?
With as much as that's going on in the world these days, with everybody, you know, being up in arms about one thing or another, wanting to protest this thing or that thing, I never really get involved with that myself because there's very few things in this world that I can control.
Right.
And one of them, and even sometimes it's not even that possible to control, is myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and that's probably the best thing that I can do is, you know, manage myself and my immediate surroundings to be as, you know, good as they possibly can.
Right.
With regards to the worldview out there, it's like, you know, a lot of the things you see, I don't know how much of it is just media manipulation.
Right.
I don't know how much of it is true. You know, I don't know like, for instance, I've never been to the Middle East. I don't know what's going on out there. And I don't know if what you're telling me is even true because, like, I'll never really go there. So, like, how do I know what's going on?
Right.
It's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to be so quick to judge. I don't want to be so quick to form an opinion about a lot of things because I really, at the core base, do not know.
Right.
The only things that I do know are the only things that I can somewhat control.
Man, I love that outlook. I really do. I think more people should think like that.
It's things, I think as you get older, there are certain things that are not worth getting up in arms about.
Right.
And there are certain things that, yeah, okay, you have a cause that you really believe in or whatever you want to push, understood. But I think that's a very young man's game.
Yeah.
Because the long term, that's not sustainable. You can't be fighting every single day. You just can't.
I would say that my mind, I started meditating this year more than ever. I try to meditate every day. But my mind also got substantially clearer. My headspace got more manageable when I totally stopped watching the news. Like, I used to watch certain news shows because I was like, oh, these are good. These are not like local news shows. These are telling me about celebrities or it has good tips. But I totally cut the news out. Right?
Yeah.
No disrespect to the news and the media, but we are very driven by it. And they call it news programs for a reason because it's programming us. Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it gave me headspace. So that's why I find that so insightful that you're like, literally, I don't know what's happening in the Middle East. I don't know what the media is telling me because, you know, we all know that every news station has their own agenda. whether it's political, whether it's social, but they're pushing something, right? Everything. I mean, everything somehow ties back to money.
I mean,
right?
everybody always has some kind of agenda.
Yeah, right. They do.
Even us. Like
Yeah,
if I'm in business with somebody, or if I put a certain menu item on
sell it.
on a menu, it's because I think that it's going to sell,
Right.
and that's what I want to do. Like that's my goal.
Right.
Same thing with whatever you put out there. Like if you feed your mind with all this, stuff that's going on,
Sure.
of course you're going to be driven crazy.
Absolutely.
Like how could you not?
Yeah, this is true. All right, man. So as we wrap up, I have 3 statements. I want you to finish these sentences, right? This has been an awesome show, and but I just want people to know your thoughts. I want people to gain a lot of insight. So next year, I will be.
My goal for next year is to scale Gourmet Gains, which is my meal prep company, to $1 million in sales for the year. That's like my main goal for the year.
Is health really important to you?
I would say, yeah.
Like, because why Gourmet Gains?
Because it's something I'm more passionate about.
Gotcha.
Because ever since COVID happened, people are more conscious about their health. Sure. I was the same way, and I would rather give a product that I know is actually healthy for people. We all know that eating out and eating at restaurants is like, it's not the healthiest of food. That's why it tastes so good.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you're eating a lot of calories when you go and have
Right.
a meal out. But I wanted to give something where it's like, people are busier than ever too, but they need to eat real good, healthy food.
Absolutely.
And that's what I wanted to provide.
Well, I will say this, a shameless plug for you as me being, a customer that loves your business. When the pandemic first started, I got up to about 217 and faithfully Gourmet Gains every week, picking up my food. Cause you can't, and I was going back to the gym. I got a Peloton
Yep.
and everything, but you cannot outwork your diet.
Oh,
I
no.
say it to people all the time. You cannot outwork your diet. So I do 2 meals a day. So I do intermittent fasting, so I don't eat breakfast. So
Right.
from you, I would always pick up, I think, 10 meals. Sometimes I would say, hey, throw in 2 extra because I'm busy on Saturday.
Yep.
Because the weekends was my time to eat freely. But,
yeah, and there's no shame in that,
But just changing those 2 meals a day, healthy portions, healthy meals. Now I'm right around 197, 198. And that, because I literally was like at a point where, you get in the mirror or you're putting like I had to put a suit jacket on, right?
That
After
is
not
where-
putting it on for a while.
I bet you that happened to a lot of people.
It did. And I had custom suits, right?
Yep.
And because, fashion, I love my fashion stuff. And
You're like, I spent all this money for what?
Right. And I
Right.
never forget, like, it was like, okay, people are going back out again.
Yep.
And I had a meeting to go to or a networking event. And I
Yep.
put my jacket on. I was like, I can't even button this jacket.
I know.
Because you don't notice it. You're
No.
home. You're enjoying life,
Well,
whatever.
Yeah, if everyone's at home wearing sweatpants and gym clothes all
Yeah.
day long, you don't feel the stretch.
Even
you
my
know?
sweatpants started fitting different. I was like, you know what? And then I remember I saw it on your Instagram. I said, bro, sign me up. It wasn't even out yet. You were like, it's coming. I was like, sign me up.
Yeah, you were
I
like,
need it.
I'm ready.
I need it. So faithfully picking up that. In 5 years, I will be.
Hopefully in 5 years, I have a concept that I made for my father.
Like this. Okay.
And I fleshed it out pretty well, but like hopefully I have like that being opened up soon, because
Okay.
I'd like to open up a restaurant, and the idea of it is, so my father died of cancer, yes, but I want to open up more places that are geared around where a portion of profits are given towards a cause.
Gotcha.
So like dining with a cause in mind.
That's pretty dope.
All the time. Not just like a random month here or there or anything like that. I'm talking like a solid, percentage of the profits are given towards a cause. And I feel like people will be more on board for that kind of stuff because it leads to so many other
Purpose.
marketing opportunities. Yes, you're doing business for a purpose. And that is a thing that, getting back into the entrepreneurial spirit, if you're not doing business for a purpose,
Right.
if it's just for money, that won't last.
It won't work.
Money is not the goal. The goal is bettering lives, basically, in a way. If money is just all you want, well, you can do a lot of things for money.
Right. Look, being an entrepreneur is hard enough.
Right.
Agreed. And like I said earlier, chase people, not money. When you chase people to help people and serve people, the money's going to come. I also do believe this, and this is something from Eric Thomas. He's one of probably my favorite motivational speaker. He says the reason why we stop and we start and we stop and we start because the meaning isn't big enough. And believe it or not, the meaning of money isn't enough.
It's not.
It's not as much as people. I mean, look, I do agree. My other favorite speaker and one of my coaches, Les Brown, said, and he quoted someone, I just don't remember who he quoted, but he said, hey, money isn't everything, but it's right up there with oxygen. And that's kind of the world we live in. But at the same time, I do think you have to be fueled by purpose.
Right.
Right? At the end of the day. So,
Well, once you get up to a certain amount of money too, that's enough.
Right.
For a lot of people. You
it
know?
is. But look how many people are super wealthy and not happy. Right?
Exactly.
Because there's purpose missing. There's value missing, right?
I mean, you've heard it before. Money doesn't buy you happiness.
Doesn't buy you happiness.
People don't.
Buys you a lot of other things.
People don't think like that though until it's too late. Like until they have it, then they realize, oh yeah, this money was nothing.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday. Who was it? But it was so insightful. I loved it. The guy said, he said, listen, a lot of people are striving for money and there's certain things they want. But here's the thing. If you're not happy without the money, you're not going to be happy with it. This was from a billionaire. I just figured which billionaire it was because I listened to podcasts all day long. He said, just like, you're not going to be happy with the luxury car if you're not happy without it. Happiness is from within, not from the things you're going to get from out. And people forget that money is out. Money's not in, right? We got to be happy inside. Another one of my favorite thoughts, Myron Golden said this. He said, most people love money and use people. He said, I use money to love people. How deep is that? I love that. So I think like that all the time now.
I get exactly what he's saying too.
Yeah.
You want to better people's lives and lift other people up. You don't want it to just be on you because then again, you're lonely at the top. What's the point of being there if you can't share it with people?
And when he said that, he gave a good example that you can relate to. He said, for instance, during the pandemic, me and my wife would go to dinner to our favorite restaurant. Obviously, they weren't getting as many people, short-staffed, and we had a favorite waitress there. So he said, I don't care if we just had 2 espressos and our bill was $10, we would leave her $250. He was like, because, and we're doing well, right? He's a business coach and stuff, but he said because, we use money to love people, right? So we use our money to love her because that was our favorite restaurant and she was a great server. So
good.
Big stuff. Last question. My impact to the world will be.
Well, it's funny because that guy's talking about lifting up people.
Right.
Mine was I want to help improve the lives of those I interact with closely on a professional and personal level. So those that work with me professionally, I want to try and lift them up to the next level. And like if they leave, good. I want to see you progress and do your own thing and, be the best person that you can be.
Absolutely.
And same thing with people personally. Like, it's like, if you're a real, true, legit person, truthful, trust me, there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help.
Right.
If someone is just a straight, honest person with them about it. Like, and that's what I want to be. I want to be someone that gives back, like even the things that I learned or know or the knowledge that I have through operating businesses and things like that. I would love to give that back. So
man, I know you'll do it, man. I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
You're making an impact. You're making an impact already, and I'm sure people listening, you're making an impact too, man. Listen, man, I appreciate you so much for being on the show, bro. And
Thank you.
I'll see you every week anyway. And look, tell everybody where they can find you, how they can reach you. Tell them about Fat Tomato. Because everybody needs to know about this place, and everybody needs to know how they can connect with you.
If you're in Jersey, you can come to the Fat Tomato. It's in West Berlin. You just visit fattomatobistro.com, and all of our information is on there. Even for the Gourmet Gains, which is our gluten-free meal prep, you can click on a link off of that website as well, and all the information is online. That's pretty much it. That's all I have.
Are you on social media?
Yeah, we have Instagram. It's at TFT Bistro is the tag that we have. Same thing for Facebook and whatnot.
Awesome.
So
awesome. And lastly, before we go, bro, who is your celebrity lookalike? Because I have somebody in mind.
Oh, I'll tell you who I get all the time.
Tell me who you get.
I get Rob Gronkowski all the time.
Bro, that's
I've
exactly
had
what I
people
was thinking.
stop me in traffic, and they're like, "Are you Rob?" I'm like, "No, I'm not 6'4", my guy. Calm down."
No, you're taller though, man. But,
I'm tall, but I'm not
right.
that big. Like he's a big guy, dude.
You know, it was funny because another one of my buddies was like, so and so look like Rob Gronkowski, and I was like, And my boy Eric looks kind of like Rob Gronkowski.
Dude,
I don't know,
I've had people buy me drinks because I look like
does
Rob.
anybody tell you ever look like Rob
Yes.
Gronkowski?
All the time. It's hilarious as you say that because like my cousins say it all the time too. It's like, dude.
Oh man, well look everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate the love. If you love the content, please like, subscribe, and share. Follow me on Instagram at realestateagent007, YouTube, Kenyon Hunter, the Evolution Ave podcast or Evolution Ave, and hope you really enjoyed the episode, man. I really appreciate my man Eric.
I had a
coming
great
through.
time.
Yeah, excellent, man. We'll have you on again. We got a lot to talk about, so I'll have you on again.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, y'all stay super blessed, and I'll see you next time.